Hello everyone, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. If you're new here, my name's Charlotte. It's nice to have you. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I do mainly vlogging, but I do some sit down videos. Today I was sat on my couch for one of those sit down videos. I feel like I've just noticed my couch covers are the wrong way up. I'm just gonna change that. It's because they get all squished, so I put them the other way around to like make everything right again. Anyway, let's get comfy. I hope we're in the right framing, zoomed in enough. So my camera's actually broken, so I can't see the viewfinder, which is kind of frustrating. So I'm doing a lot of guesswork on the framing. But yes, hello, welcome in. Let me get started with today's video. I'm rambling. I've had a very slow start to the day. I'm feeling a bit like higgledy-piggledy, so I'm gonna try keep this somewhat concise, but you've probably guessed by the title. Today, I'd like to introduce you to my journaling ecosystem. For those of you that aren't familiar with the term journaling ecosystem, it's kind of taken social media by storm, and it's essentially an ecosystem, as most things are, of your own personal journals and notebooks. If you are an avid journaler, stationery fanatic, or just generally like writing things down, you might find that you have 1 to 2 notebooks, you might find you have 1 to 5 notebooks, and I will say I only have about 3.5 that I use really regularly, and I'll tell you why the halves in a second. Oh my god, my door opening really scared me. For the purpose of today's video, I'm going to show you all 5 because I do use them all on a regular basis, but I just don't count some of them, and I'll explain to you why. So I think first I'm going to talk you through my ecosystem and how it works for me, and then in the second half of the video, I get a request for this quite a lot, and it's to talk about some possible journaling prompts or some tips for journaling. I'll get into this properly later, but I wanted to talk to you kind of about my methods for journaling and what works for me. And the most important thing is, do this in the way that best suits you. You don't need 100 notebooks. I am firmly like an unaesthetic person, so this is going to be my unaesthetic journaling ecosystem. Nothing wrong with it being aesthetic. I'm just not trying to push myself into a place that I'm not. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Basically, all of that to say, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. We'll go smallest to biggest in terms of size, shall we? So my first journal notebook. God. My first one is my Moleskine, pocketbook size, lined. This one has a bit of a funny story to it, and I say funny, it's actually probably not funny to anyone. Moleskines are a little bit more expensive than what I'd usually have gone for at the time. I have a little bit more of an appreciation for notebooks now, but also being a stationery fanatic, I don't really lean towards Moleskines anymore. I had a return in Waterstones for a hardback book that was a gift to someone that I found out they already had, but I'd lost the receipt, so I had like £20 to exchange. Couldn't find anything I wanted. I know it seems kind of unreasonable. So I ended up getting a notebook, and actually this has been one of the best purchases I've ever made. This one comes everywhere with me. It has a little bulldog clip clipped onto it because I had some receipts attached. And because this is my notebook that I carry everywhere with me, this notebook contains a little bit of everything. So I actually started using this in 2023. I dated it, but I didn't use it much last year, and I've been using it a lot more. But you'll still find that I'm only about halfway through it. But this contains mainly work-related stuff. And when I say work-related stuff, I'm referring to my job as a content creator, which I'm currently part-time in. But I found that I really don't like using my notes on my phone for ideas because I never revisit them. So I use this for anything and everything pertaining to work. So the first few pages are video ideas, YouTube ideas, TikTok ideas, Instagram ideas. Now it's kind of evolved into shopping lists, post-it notes of things I've purchased recently, recent favourite items. I've got some questions in here from a job interview I did, my evening schedules, thoughts on a tea I drank that I liked, Christmas list, birthday list, fragrance list, cooking ideas, sweet potato cheesecake, I remember that, things I want to do in town so I don't forget. I was listening to an audiobook and I wrote bullet points of what I thought. I've got some 12-week goals in here that I clearly wrote at the beginning of the year with a hopeful optimism. I have actual journaling that I've completed. I don't like to journal in this one too much about my feelings because my kind of fear is that someone will find this, and while it's not entirely private, I just wouldn't want someone to read through it in great detail. Messy thoughts about book reviews, breakfast ideas, things I want to eat, things I want to bake. I've got a rough draft for an evening schedule when I get home from work, and then I've got the finalized draft of an evening schedule when I get home from work. I think this is what people would call a commonplace journal. And while I'm not super familiar with commonplacing as a concept, I believe commonplace journaling is just another name for your kind of everything and anything book. This pretty much comes everywhere with me, and it fits in my jeans pocket, which is really nice as well. And I usually have a tiny little pen strapped to the front. And I would say that this firmly acts as my replacement for my notes app on my phone, which I do utilize to some extent. But sometimes if I know I've had an idea and I remember writing it down, this is where I will come to look for it. My second edition is my newest edition. This is a Leuchtturm A5, and it is a squared paper. Can't remember the name of the model because I lost the sleeve that it came with. I like set it to one side specifically so I could tell you what it was, but I can't find it. It's squared on the inside, and you can see that I've bought a new pen for it, and then I got a little pen holder that just slots in. I keep my post-it notes in the elastic strap, and I'll tell you for why. This was a newer, more intentional purchase. I decided to go for a Leuchtturm over a Moleskine because I've recently started writing in fountain pens, and one thing I've found is that a fountain pen bleeds with the Moleskine and it doesn't bleed with the Leuchtturm. And when I checked in the stationery store and just asked for their advice, they recommended a Leuchtturm to me. How many more times can I say Leuchtturm? One thing that really annoys me about buying these books is that they are never out on display. I just want to see the inside of them. I wanted the dot grid, but they didn't have the dot grid in this colour. And I'd already spent about 25 minutes in the store and I was feeling a bit indecisive. So I just bought this one. And to be fair, I'm really happy I did. It does have a contents list, which I wasn't expecting. I don't know if I'll actually utilise it, but it's a nice touch to have. The pen is a Pentel, if anyone's interested. It's an S520S, a little felt tippy type nib. The reason I bought this was to record all my thoughts and feelings from books. So that's what I've started doing. This lives on my bedside. I recently decided in the last couple of months I want to get better at analysing the books I read in an attempt to understand them more and also remember them a bit more. If you haven't visited my channel before, I do monthly book reviews, and I do think I probably read more books than the average person. And actually this year I'm kind of trying to read less. I'm trying to read less and understand more. And I'm also delving into books that I would consider slightly more complex for me as a reader. So I want to give them their full time. I'm starting to read more classics. I want to make connections more. I want to understand more. And when I was thinking about this concept of a personal learning curriculum that's going on at the moment, I love it. I love learning. I want to live a life learning for the rest of my life. But with my current schedule, adding anything new to the personal curriculum isn't really feasible, or it's not going to be sustainable for me. So I thought, how can I get better at things I already do, or increase the intensity or the depth of things that I'm already doing? And I thought reading, perfect example. I already review for YouTube. Let's work on improving that. I review for TikTok. I read for personal pleasure. So I thought, why not read a little bit more intentionally? Why not read a little bit more closely? And I'm not saying it has to be every single book, because currently I'm blasting my way through a 4-part smutty shifter dark academia fantasy series. I'm not sitting and doing any kind of close reading with that. But I started annotating my books more. I started keeping a pen in my current physical books that I was reading. I've started keeping a stack of post-it notes on my bedside table, and I have it all very close to me so I can annotate. And I thought, I'm running out of room in the margins of my books and I want somewhere where I can consolidate all that information. So this is the perfect place to do it. And at the moment, I've only started one book in here, and it's Shark Heart by Emily Habeck. I've popped the date on there and I'm writing my thoughts as I see them. And the idea is that I will end up with this kind of progression, and it should in turn help me remember the book more, help me understand the book more, help hopefully improve the quality of my reviews for you all, and help me make connections that otherwise I would have forgotten. I usually do this thing when I'm reading, and I'm sure a lot of people do, but I'll remember something about the book and I'll be like, oh, that seems important, come back to it later. Or I'll hear a phrase and I'll think, oh, I've heard that before in the book, but I haven't annotated or referenced it, so I can't go back through. So I'm missing the opportunity to make those connections because I'm not acting on them when I read them. I don't want to do this with every single book. I don't need to do this with every single book, but I think as someone that reads like 50 books a year and has done for the last 3 years and can barely remember any of them, I don't want that to be the case. So yeah, I'm feeling really, really good about adding this one to the mix. And actually this is what inspired me to make the video, because I always thought I didn't really have a journaling ecosystem, but very clearly I do. So yeah, that's my newest edition. I feel like I've been rambling loads, so I do need to speed up. My next book is probably one of the reasons I don't consider my journaling ecosystem to be quite so big, but I thought I would include it because I do use it and I have been making more of an effort to use it, but this is my sketchbook. Earlier this year, I wanted to do some more creative stuff. This is from The Works. It's a Dale Arowney sketchbook. It's not from The Works. It's from Cass Art Shop, actually. actually, Cast Art in Brighton. I think it's a chain. I think they have them in other areas of the country. But this is just a plain A5 black sketchbook, acid-free, 54 pages, suitable for all mediums. It's considered like an artist sketchbook, but I in no way would consider myself an artist. Earlier on in the year, I made a little bit of a pledge to myself that I would do more creative things if it made me happy. It does make me happy. I do enjoy having like a bit of a creative outlet, but I wanted to give myself permission to create with kind of no expectation about it. I studied a few art subjects at college, and of course, as is the case for many others, putting this kind of like academic spin and this courseworky exam spin on art subjects just made me lose love with them. I found them really challenging. I failed them because I didn't complete the coursework, but I completed the final pieces. That was a whole other thing in my head that I was like, I don't get it. That was also my own fault because where I was at. Anyway, didn't need to law drop like that regarding a sketchbook. Anyway, I have a lot of art materials around the house. I have a big box of scrapbook stuff. I used to love scrapbooking in the pandemic. I'm sure everyone did. Decided to kind of reinvigorate my love for something creative and just leave it out. No pressure. I can revisit it whenever I want. The big thing about this book was make it exist. You can make it good later. That's kind of like my mantra. I saw that online somewhere. I can't remember from who. I made a post-it note of ideas of things that I could do in my sketchbook because I think one of the biggest barriers for me is sitting down and not knowing what I want to do or what I want to draw. So if I can just pick from this little list of ideas for sketches, ideas for collages. I don't have a lot in this book. The most recent thing I did was some oil pastel fruit stuff. It's just a practice. I'm not good at anything like that by any means, but it's nice to get out of my head for a bit. So yeah, that's why I wouldn't consider this a very prominent part of my journaling ecosystem, but it does feel like a necessary part. My next book I'm nearly finished, and these are both the same notebooks actually, but I'll go through them. This is a slightly bigger than A5 Fringe notebook. This is Fringe Studios, Culver City, California. I got this in HomeSense. These are some of my favorite notebooks in the entire world. I've been using these for about 4 or 5 years. They're not often in HomeSense, so I do have to stock up on them quite often. I go in and I pre-buy them. My manager used to use them as well, so I used to pick one up for her, but I think I love these because it's the margin and the date is just so nice, and the space on the page is slightly wider than a standard A5. Let me show you. I don't know what this size is, but it's slightly bigger than a standard A5. It's just really, really comfortable. I'm so very nearly finished, and I won't show you the inside, but this is my feelings notebook. This is the one that I don't want anyone to get their hands on. This is what most people would consider journaling in like the truest sense of the word, in that this is just a dump of everything I'm possibly feeling. And my consistency with this tends to ebb and flow. I'll go periods of months where I write in this every single day, and I will go months without even jotting down a single word. But I'm incredibly grateful for this presence in my life, and it usually lives next to my bed or on my work desk. I don't think I'll be going back to this actually, even though I did say it's one of my favorites, purely because of the fountain pen issue. The paper quality in there to me feels really, really lovely, and it's a nice creamy color. The lines are quite faint, but it bleeds a lot with my fountain pen, and I've found that I only exclusively want to journal with my fountain pen now. So I might go for a Leuchtturm. I might go for a slightly bigger Leuchtturm. I don't know, I haven't quite got there yet. I think I like this one so much because it's a spiral bound, and while spiral bound is a bit annoying for storage and integrity of the notebook, it's a really comfortable writing experience for me because I'm left-handed and I like being able to rip stuff out of it. Not that I've ever ripped anything meaningful out of this. I only ever tend to rip like to-do lists, but I try not to make a habit of writing to-do lists in here. I will talk about my journaling method and what I do in this one in the second half of this video when I go through some like prompts and methods you could try. The same notebook but different. You can see the covers are just slightly different. I always go for kind of like a natural color. This is my work notebook. This is why I would consider this 5.5, because I wouldn't consider this a part of my journaling ecosystem because it's so functional, and not that the others aren't functional, but I could give a shit about this. Something that I would usually put in my journaling ecosystem is something that I would keep, but when I'm done with this, I'll probably keep it for like 6 months in case I need to reference anything that's written in it, and then I'll just throw it away. I'll put it in like the confidential shredding at work. I love this notebook for work specifically because of the date. The dating element to me is so much fun. I've used these for my work notebooks probably for about 3 or 4 years now. I had stacks on stacks of these. I can't really show you too much of the inside again because it's like confidential information. I live off making to-do lists in these. I mean, you can see my journaling style's ultimately very messy. I kind of love it. I like that nothing is really neat, and I like that a water bottle leaked in my bag and you can see all my mess. I like that I doodle a lot in this, and then I have been working in the back a little bit as well. The reason that I got this one is because I used to work in the back of my work ones for my social media stuff and ideas as I had them and to-do lists. So you can see that's where I've started to do that in this. I've started to plan out my days. I've started to write down my schedules, what I need to do, written down a list of things to bake. But I figured that was best place in here because then when I throw these away, I can't reference them back anymore. I feel like I've said a whole lot of nothing if I'm completely honest. And that is my journaling ecosystem. I think it's probably time that we talk about journaling methods, maybe. I am someone that would consider myself like a non-aesthetic journaler, and I know aesthetic is a bit subjective. I mean that in the sense that I don't do spreads, I don't bullet journal, I don't tend to lay out my journaling in an intentionally visually appealing way. It's fine if you do. I think I get a lot more from just the actual writing than I do from the process of making it look gorgeous, and I've always been one of those people that tends to strive for perfectionism a bit with aesthetic stuff. Making those kinds of visually appealing aesthetics, it's not a skill that comes naturally to me, so I can find it quite frustrating, like spending ages like laying out pages and stuff like that. I don't really have that eye. And one of the questions I often get when I'm talking about journaling on TikTok or on YouTube is I get a lot of questions on like how best to journal, which I don't really feel like it's my place to answer, but I'm going to share with you what I do and a few tips, and then I'll go through a few prompts at the end of it. Everyone has a different method, everyone has a different way, and I do really firmly believe in trying a bunch of different ways and finding the best way that suits you, but also being aware of this, that your best way can evolve. So my big feelings journal essentially started because I, like many other people, started the book The Artist's Way and never finished it, obviously. In her book, Julia Cameron discusses something called the morning pages. If you're not familiar with the morning pages, it's a practice that actually many people who have read The Artist's Way like continue on into life, but Julia Cameron really encourages it. And it is one of the first things you do in the morning is that you spend 30 minutes journaling, and it is a stream of consciousness type exercise, or 3 pages. I think it's whichever you get to first, so 30 minutes or 3 pages. And actually, as long as I've been doing that, 30 minutes always takes me 3 pages. So it's the perfect balance for me. I started doing a very tried and true iteration of the morning pages, and I did them every morning for about 6 months, and it is just stream of consciousness. For a very long time, I felt stupid and I felt like I wasn't doing anything, but I've actually found it a really useful exercise in putting pen to paper and getting over myself. Stream of consciousness for me can sometimes be as simple as literally sitting down and writing, I do not know what I'm going to write about today. I feel stuck, I feel stagnant. Or it can be as deep as going into like all my innermost fears or whatever's on my mind. And I personally found that doing it in the morning was very helpful for me because I didn't have time to think about it. I would keep my journal under my pillow and a pen, and I would drag my eyes open and just fly my hand across the page while I was literally half asleep. Any kind of journaling will feel silly at first. I'm by no means an expert, but I think the most important thing to do is just start. But yes, it does feel performative at first. What you'll notice is you'll write like you're waiting for someone to find it and read it. You'll write like you're writing a novel. You'll write in a weird, funny way. And it's like, who am I trying to be funny for? The more you do it, the less you'll write with shame, the less you'll write with the fear of discovery, the less you'll write with fear of judgment. Judgment from who? Because no one's reading it. I love the morning pages, and even now I don't really ascribe to like the traditional way of doing it. I always try write, when I do write, minimum of 3 pages, and the only thing and the only hard rule I have for myself is I do not write in the evening unless I feel really called to, because most times in the evening I get quite upset and I work myself up when I'm journaling. But I find most days now I exceed 3 pages easily when I feel called to journal. Probably do it a couple of times a week. One day I wrote 11 pages. I always put the date on and the time and where I am when I'm journaling as well. But I will say I've never read back any of my entries. I can't do it. Maybe one day I will. I just don't want to do it. It's not necessary for me. I think it will hurt me. I think the best thing I can say with anyone that wants to start something is just start it. Sorry, I know that's not a good answer. I know everyone wants to overanalyze the perfect way to start writing in their journal, but yeah, there's no perfect way to do it. I understand, I really do, because I do so much research on things before I do them. I read all the books I can about it. I watch all the videos I can about it. I save all the TikToks I can about it, but until you actually just like sit down and do it, you won't know. So I just think start it. That stream of consciousness method works really well for me because I find it quite hard to follow a directive or like a prescribed set method of journaling, especially when I'm trying to get something out of it. And I think the something out of it I'm trying to get is more like a heightened self-awareness. But if you find that idea maybe a bit too vast or a bit too intense or a bit too open-ended and you're struggling with it, I have got a few journal prompts that are nothing new. They're nothing revolutionary or innovative. Sometimes when I know I want to write and I don't necessarily want to do the 3 pages of just like word vomit, I visit these prompts just so that I can get some words down on the page. I think my favorite one that I've really been enjoying a lot lately is what has made today meaningful. There are a lot of journals out there that you can buy that have kind of the preset questions in them, like 5 things I'm grateful for today, or what went well today, what did I eat, what was the weather. And I think those are really good tools. That's how I started quite a long time ago. But sometimes it's quite hard. It can feel like quite a lot to fill out 2 A5 pages of these questions, especially if you tend to journal towards the end of the day. So I think one nice little self-reflective one is what has made today meaningful for you. It can be 1 sentence, or if you're feeling up to it, you can kind of start to pick apart why that reason was meaningful to you, or what about it was meaningful to you, or why you think that holds a lot of meaning to you. But I think that's quite a nice one. I don't use this one often, but I thought it's quite a handy one because I know some of you like to journal at the start and the end of the month and do like a wrap up or intentions or goals for the month. I would say this is probably more for my goal driven journalers or people that really like doing this kind of reset or refresh. What did you do this month that you'd like to do more of next month? I think this is really nice if you're an intention setter, or you've had a really beautiful month and you can't seem to pinpoint exactly why, or maybe you have taken up a new hobby or a new habit and you feel like you want to keep that momentum up and it's been your first month, you know? And then this one is one that I use when I am crashing out or in like perhaps a bit of emotional turmoil. Sometimes when I'm journaling and it takes me in the wrong direction and I feel like I'm crashing out, or maybe I'm sat there and I need to just like regulate myself for a moment. This is like my selfish take on gratitude journaling. It's not really selfish, but I think looking at it from an angle of selfishness helps me feel a little bit more sane, because there's nothing more aggravating to me when I'm crashing out than having to be like super happy about it. So you can ground yourself in gratitude, but sometimes it helps to be a little bit bitchy about it. So I do 5 things I'm grateful for, but I do the selfish version that is there to stop me crashing out. This can be incredibly selfish. This can be incredibly bitchy. Be bitchy, but don't be mean. Sometimes you just need a moment of like, it's all going to be fine. I like to think of this as a bit of a slap around the face to myself, you know, like pull yourself together. You have a beautiful life. Pull yourself the fuck together. I think one time I was journaling that and I literally just wrote down like, I'm hot. I'm very grateful for the fact that I'm hot. Those were the 3 that I kind of use the most frequently or have reached for in the last few years. There are thousands of amazing journal prompts out there if you feel like you do need the help with prompts. I think Melissa, her handle is Beware of Pity on TikTok. She used to do monthly journaling prompts that I always really enjoyed. I thought they were really beautifully done. There's so many YouTube videos about journaling, so I don't feel like I need to add to that conversation. But I would say that remember, journaling doesn't have to be writing. If you're someone that doesn't like writing or you don't find it useful, you could do a video diary, you could record it on photo booth, you can do voice memos to yourself. Your journaling can be a form of self-expression through like more visual means, so like junk journaling, that kind of thing. Just remember, it doesn't have to look a certain way. It can be however you want it to be. You don't have to ever revisit it again, or you can revisit it on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. But yeah, I just really wanted to make this video because I wanted to share my journals with you really, and I thought I might as well make it somewhat useful in terms of sharing my process with you. Anyway, let me know what you think of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a bit of a rambly one maybe. If you did like today's video, please feel free to drop a like or drop a comment. Let me know what you thought. I do post on other platforms, so I'm on TikTok and on Instagram. I'll put my social media stuff in the description box below for you. I feel like I can't remember how I usually exit my videos, and that feels really silly. But yeah, my upload schedule is every single Sunday and every other Wednesday. And yeah, I'll see you on the next upload. Thank you so much for watching.